Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Bad Climbing by developer StrangeThink. This is a really cool idea and one that I can't believe I haven't really seen anyone ever execute before, and this is not entirely a finished game or anything. I would say this is more like just an experimental little project for the moment, as far as I can tell anyway. But the premise is super simple. We're going to be climbing this structure and we can generate an infinite number of them. So we kind of take our own path through however we see that we can jump around through this thing to make it to the top, and it doesn't necessarily even give you recognition that you made it to the top, which is why I say this is probably pretty early along. But this concept in and of itself, combined with the very beautiful aesthetics, and I kind of look at this like a piece of freestanding sculpture art, makes me really excited for the premise and the hope that there might be more to this later on. So, like I said, all we're going to be doing is looking for an easy in, and then we're going to try and work our way up little by little up this structure. And if we make it to the top, maybe I'll generate a few more, and we'll see what we can find out of this particular concept. And like I said, I've really never seen anyone go for this angle before, and it reminds me a lot of Mirror's Edge. It reminds me a lot of some of the Stark geometry, particularly in the DLC. If you remember, there was like some free-running special levels that were made up of strange structures and kind of primitives floating in space. I get a similar idea out of this in a very esoteric realm. And the controls, by the way, in case you're wondering, are very simple here as well. We've just got the usual WASD, and we've got spacebar to jump and hold shift to run. The longer you hold spacebar, the higher you jump, but to a limit, of course, because otherwise you would just fly up the outside of the thing and it wouldn't be any challenge at all. But I was just imagining some of the different things that could go to make this just an endless foray into climbing and exploration. I would totally love to see a seeded version of this where you could actually generate the structure based on a series of letters and numbers that you could then share with a friend and race up together. And also just like putting a little marker at the end and perhaps even having the ability to time your progress would be really fun, especially since there's probably a lot of different ways to approach each structure. And I've thrown my run and fallen back to the bottom, it looks like. Also the ability to perhaps crouch could be very useful, because in this particular structure, and I guess in many of the structures, there seems to be quite a few like overhangs that you might need to sneak under. You know, leaderboards would also be really cool if you do want to, like, do a run on a specific structure. And I don't know if this was meant to be a speed game, and it probably wasn't even. It was probably more done in the idea of exploration. But even in that realm, there's plenty of exploration ideas you could go with, too. I'm thinking perhaps have a structure that dynamically generates as you keep going up it and just keeps going like a tower. And then you compete for high scores, and you can take your time. It doesn't have to be a fast-paced thing. And then just when you fall down past a certain point, and I guess the point would rise up with your character, that would be the end of your run. You have to get pretty good at judging the distances that your character can fly through the air at, because it does seem like you have a lot further to work with than you would expect at first glance. And it's just really interesting to see where you can end up at times. Because like, oh, well, that was totally botched there. I was thinking maybe I was going to head up for that diagonal in the corner, but I don't think that's going to happen. Some of the way that these structures seem to be generated leads to some very interesting and unconventional planning processes for how you would navigate this space. And I guess it sort of reminds me a little bit of like if you're in a jungle gym as a little kid or something, if you got one of those very strangely set up wooden ones that's got, you know, like a labyrinth inside of it or something. Oh man, I'm terrible. I can't freaking make it off the ground anymore. There are some flat spaces in some of the structures that I've experienced where there's actually like a lot of safe points and you can take your time and try and find a good handhold before you get yourself up higher. There we go. And I really do like the concept that there's just an infinite number of these things to be created. That was a bit of an unconventional jump, but it did work. Look at how pretty that is. Combined with this background also, like that is actually a really pretty background all in and of itself. And I was thinking also it would be really neat if the levels when they generated also maybe included like some sky changes, perhaps different sorts of color schemes for the polygons that make up the structure too. So you might end up in a place that looks a bit lit differently, or has a larger grouping of verticals or diagonals or something like that. And I think there is to some extent something like that, but it's not quite to the point where you can see vastly different sizes and structures. I was kind of hoping if I hit regenerate enough times, maybe I would discover like a tower that went nearly endlessly into the sky, but it seems like there are some constraints to the verticality and things which, you know, makes perfect sense. There's no reason to go absolutely nuts with it. Every now and then I just want to kind of take a look up above me, and it looks like I've got a very long way to go if I intend to climb this. It's not a walk in the park by any means. Oh, I wasn't sure if I could make it up that. Alright, I'm terrible. Why don't we try and generate a couple more of these? And despite this one looking like quite a formidable and very interesting structure to climb, it looks like maybe I need to find a better angle to attack it at. Just want to give you a good shot of it before we send it off into oblivion. This is why I was sad that there's no seated mode for this, because I would like to know what this generation structure is and maybe go back to it again later. Alright, so let's hit G. And that one is definitely a little bit more squat, but laid out maybe a bit more horizontally. Kind of looks like, I guess, a Mondrian painting. It's a kind of constructivist feeling to this with all the hard edges everywhere. That would also be quite a thing. Maybe you can unlock shader modes for the panels, and then some of them are actually lit up or have different properties to them and look different colors and things. So it actually, you'd be creating art just as much as you'd be creating a jumpable structure. And the character moves around pretty much just fine. I think maybe I fall off things more than I'd like, but that also could just be me getting used to this whole thing too. Oh, look how dense this is. There's all these layers and different, like, unfolding chunks to it. I just want to kind of dive in and see where you can go on the internal areas here. A lot of these seem like they end up kind of going nowhere, but this looks like a step we could use. Maybe get up in this edge. Nope. If there ended up being a larger structure that would house this game, or this idea anyway, I think this would certainly be an idea I'd be absolutely 100% willing to pay for. I could easily see this being like a $10 or $15 game up on Steam that people get to like speedrun each other, or even just explore endless structures, because I just really like the idea of this going on ad infinitum in every direction, and like, where do you go with that? I understand there's obviously going to be polygon constraints and things like that, but maybe I could experiment with the idea of, you know, automatically loading and unloading this stuff, streaming it into reality, having things disappear outside of viewpoints and stuff, which, you know, randomly generating that stuff makes that very, very difficult, I probably would guess. Where do I want to go with this? There's not like a lot of good jumps here, are there? Alright, maybe over here. Kind of missed that jump. Maybe we could get over on this side and up to this ledge. I'm also imagining if this had a structure where you actually had like a third-person perspective and you had somebody that could run and grab onto edges, or even if you went with like a Mirror's Edge style traversal mechanic, where if you get close to something you could like hold shift down or something, or tap shift and it would like lift you up, or maybe a mouse click or something. But that could also get a little bit hectic, because then obviously the very delicate balance that the developer has found between what's traversable and what's not would all have to be reworked, and that would be a bit of a mess, I assume. I kind of do like things just the way they are, actually, with respect to that, but if the developer wanted to go in a different direction, I think that would also be pretty fine, too. Alright, so far so good. I think we've gotten higher here than we have in the prior one. Can I squeeze into this? Ah, I can. Yeah, my character seems to be very low to the ground, which I've tried to take advantage of as much as possible. Okay, so far so good. How about up here? Yep. Another slanted object. And even if it doesn't actually do anything, just like a little diamond or like a marker up at the highest point on the level, just that you can touch, and it goes congratulations or something, just to let you know that you finished this structure would be really nice. I mean, I know it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, and in some ways it's kind of forcing the character into a new box that maybe wasn't intended, changing the gameplay mechanics by then changing it from like a passive exploration experience to something that's got a little bit more of a structured gameplay style. I don't know what the developer has in mind for that type of thing, but I think it's very easy to take this in a number of directions that would all be quite satisfying. And I think I've probably made it. What do I have to do still? One more, and then over here, I guess. Well, I mean, this is like the tallest flat structure I think I can easily get to. I should probably not run everywhere also. That's probably a good reason why I keep falling off of everything, and that's, well, now I'm on the roof, but where does the roof really take me in the scheme of things? Back to the ground, eventually. I could also see this being the type of game that would have, like a procedurally generated soundtrack, too, based on, like, the seed of the level or something, where it could take little elements little MIDI chunks and string them together in strange ways to create like a whole unique experience each time. And I basically fallen my way all the way back down to the ground, so I'm just complete garbage. But you saw what looked to be the roof of that structure. We could generate a couple more. Oh, this one's strange. Has a lot of offshoot patterns. What about this one? Mostly horizontal. Another kind of horizontal. And a lot of flat structures here, too. Cool. I really like just creating them and just watching, sort of like looking at them from different angles and seeing what I might do to attack each one. And the, you know, it wouldn't be an Indie Impressions episode if I didn't mention how cool this would be for a screensaver. That one's particularly striking looking. There's a lot of cool contrast happening in the center of that structure. And it looks like it's got a lot of depth as well. Can I make it up this? Hang on, let's see if we can swing around. Oh, there might be a weird jump that I can do where I kind of do like a Z, I think, or a triangle jump, I think is probably more the correct term here if we're talking about like Mega Man style. Although there aren't double jumps or wall dashes, or, well, I think it's possible to get around that edge and then go back up, but I don't think I'm quite in the right position to do so. And I also did notice that this does seem to natively support the 360 controller to a small degree, but I'm not sure you can run or look. I think it's just sort of like a GoldenEye 007 thing where you just kind of look straight ahead and walk around. So it's like partial support, if that counts. I don't actually know where I'm... Wow, I can actually clip through that at this height, huh? Character really is capable of getting through some small spaces. So I guess maybe saying I needed a duck mechanism was a little bit superfluous, because it seems like our character can make it through things regardless. That is really pretty looking. But you know what I mean? Like, that some slightly different lighting schemes would go a long way to making each one of these look a little strange and unique. Also, probably want to move the G key for generating a new climbing frame over to another part of the keyboard, like somewhere way out of the reach, just so you don't hit it by accident. Not that hopefully anybody's getting too attached to any of these structures, since obviously you're gonna quit this out of your browser eventually and lose it anyway. Oh, look at that. That's really cool. It totally branched off and just hanging in the air. Hats off to Strange Thing for coming up with however this algorithm generates these structures. They're really cool looking. That's probably the tallest one I've seen so far. I could also kind of get into if there was like dynamic shadows and stuff happening like on the ground, but I imagine then we'd get into a lot of kind of dangerous territory for, you know, the whole frame rate thing, which can be a bit of an issue. And since we're playing this in our browsers, at least for now, you know, that could be a bit of a concern. Not sure how well this scales for like low-end hardware or anything. Thankfully, I'm in a position where this the hardware that I run on this is 2 GTX 770s, so I don't think a Unity game running in my browser is too likely to cause too many issues unless it's, you know, particularly terribly optimized or something. But I don't think we really have to worry about that too much here. Just kind of flat planes and well, these aren't flat planes. They're rectangular primitives of various directions, and, well, they're planes. They're just, you know what I mean. Never mind. Alright, so I think we pretty much got the idea here. This is Bad Climbing. Definitely go check it out. There's going to be a link to it right in the description. Go give a few of these structures a climb. Let me know how you do. Let me know if you have any ideas for improvements to this concept, and if you have anything in particular as far as criticisms that are, you know, of what we can look at right now. Feel free to chime in. I always love to have a bit of a dialogue in the comment section. Just, you know, keep them constructive as much as possible. We definitely don't want to have any kind of bad, you know, mean comments or anything like that. At least if it can be avoided. So, I think that's going to do it for another day. As always, be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. I do definitely appreciate the support. The series has been going on for, what is this, 2.5 years now, and I still appreciate every single person that comes by and watches, and I still try to read every single comment that comes through. So, you know, don't be shy. Feel free to leave something. Let me know you're here. It does definitely make a difference. I think I might have made my way up this structure, actually. I wasn't expecting that. And be sure to come back again tomorrow. New episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day without fail, so I look forward to bringing you another one, another type of unique, original, artistic, or otherwise indie game like this. And look, we've conquered this structure. Hooray! But yeah, be sure to come on back tomorrow. I look forward to bringing you something else, and I hope you have a fantastic night. I'll talk to you all later.